Whoop, whoop, we're live. Sandy. Hi, everyone. Hi, Amber and Elma. Thanks for joining us on our Fabulous Friday. And I think today is going to be a really fabulous conversation. Sandy and I were discussing it yesterday, and it ended up being 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. We were on the phone, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And it was really gave us a great focus for today. Don't you think, Sandy?
Oh, totally. It was really good. And
Yeah.
it's so timely what we're going through right now, just the information that's coming up, what we're discussing. Other people are discussing it too, but we just all have our own unique way of putting it all together, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know we called it Dark Night of the Soul. But what Sandy and I, from our discussion yesterday, we want to actually talk about, because I know a lot of us and a lot of the group has probably gone through the dark night of the soul. And what we're going through right now is a collective dark night of the soul, and how we can break through this as a collective too and bring up our energies so we can get to the next part. Sorry,
Hey, Justin.
Hey, Justin. Why is it echoey? This pisses me off. It happens sometimes, not all the time. But I did do a card pull. Do you mind if I do that first?
Go for it.
Set us up. I actually, when I shuffled the cards, what I was asking was, what does the audience today and me and you need on this topic of the collective dark night of the soul? It was a very interesting pull, and very apropos, I think. Okay, so where are we at right now? We got these two. And so we've got, everything is backwards on here. The Seven of Cups, where this is, still a lot of illusion, a lot of confusion. That's where the world is at right now. And I think even some of us, it's like, where are we going? How's this going to end? Blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't matter if you're awake or asleep. There is still some confusion, right? We're not seeing the exact.
We don't have all the information, for sure we don't.
We don't. And this card confirms it, right? The Four of Swords. We have a lot of the information, but something is still hidden. We need to, tune in and get that. So that's what's going to help us get out of this confusion.
Like how you said that we need to tune in, because we will know what it is, but we aren't even looking for it yet. So when we consciously start looking for it and put it in the field, we're going to have our own aha. We're going to figure this out. It's not that they're going to tell us.
Right. And the past, like this is the past card, like, so where we're coming from. And this is a victory card. So this battle has already been won. I mean, we've heard that a million times, and I believe, we were talking about this yesterday. I was saying this battle is not a flesh and blood. It is actually a war for our soul. It's a war in the heavens. This is good versus evil. And that war has been won, and it is playing out on this earth plane at the moment. And so they're trying to create all this confusion, hide information, but we will find it because everything is in us.
And what's interesting? We think we're raising in consciousness, and in some ways, in a lot of ways we are. How do we know consciousness isn't raising itself and using us to express itself? How do we know that the consciousness as the energy itself isn't what wants to be seen?
No, absolutely. And yeah. And so between the two cards of where we are today, who's doing that? This is the establishment. The Hierophant, that's the establishment. They're trying to hold on, trying to keep you confused. They're trying desperately to keep us away from the information. Right? That's all that censorship and everything else. It's a very cool card. And then our near future, everything we're working on, we will get it. Like steady progress, we're getting there, right? And that one was aspected by all of the fruits we've planted. We will have our harvest. We will have our harvest, and we are going to have a new beginning.
Yes.
Right? And this is staying true to our path. And then we got our wish card. All of our wishes are coming true. It doesn't mean it's going to be without hardship. They're going to try to keep things moving. We need to be strategic. This card is the strategy card. So we need to be strategic in how we're moving forward. But don't you worry. When I saw this card, it was like, I was telling Sandy, I said, when I saw this card, what I saw was, the heavens opening through the matrix and the trumpet blowing for
humanity.
For humanity. We're breaking it down. judgment is coming for those who have been trying to keep it away from us. And we finished with the Ace of Cups, which is new beginnings rooted in love. And isn't that exact? I was like, oh, what a beautiful card. This is exactly what we're striving for.
Yes.
So nice for exactly what we're talking about, right? We do have some hardships ahead of us. We've had them behind us. We're in them right now.
We are in the dark night of the soul, even though we've done a lot of work, and pretty much everybody here I know has done a lot of work as well, right? But it's not the point. It's now we've gone through it personally, and now we're doing it in the collective. But as we're in the collective with it, we kind of know where we've been for sure. That's the beauty of the dark night of the soul. But we also have an idea of where we want to go. So even though it's dark and it's darkest before the dawn, we have more. Our path is more illuminated than before, because we have a sense of everything that's wrong in the establishment, how the matrix works, how the controls have worked in the past. Yep. And it's no different than being in an abusive relationship where they control everything you do, they control what you think, they control who you're with. This is kind of what we're going through, but we're seeing it. And it's no different than when you said the strategy card. If you want to get out of something like that, you also have to have a strategy. You don't just pick up your bags and leave, because if it was that easy, you would have been gone a long time ago, right? But with this example, it's not us who has to leave. It's the governments who have to leave. It's the people in charge, those who abuse the power. Those are the ones who are going to leave this time. We're staying firm in where we stand, right?
We are, and we will be victorious. And that's the beauty, I mean, of what's going on, and is to have that continued strength to power through. A lot of what we talked about was some of the things that you said on your show when you were on with Nicholas yesterday, right? And that why can't, if they're looking for percentages, and we both agree that everybody's got a different percentage, blah, blah, blah. I just got to put all that stuff aside and go, okay, what if, like you said, and this is what you said, is instead of worrying about getting the right percentage and trying to wake people up, because we can't wake people up right now. It's up to them.
How they presented it, though, they said we need a 60% consciousness, like an awakening in consciousness, but they said it doesn't mean it's 60% of the people. It just needs to be 60% of the consciousness is raised. So you can take a few people and raise it a lot. Mm-hmm. So why try to convert the people who don't want to know? Go to the ones who already know and give them more tools. Show them more ways of how to raise their consciousness, but not in a chaotic way. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have chaos around us, but it doesn't mean that we can't find ways to flow our energy.
Yeah.
And do our own clearing, raise our awareness, all that kind of stuff. So good stuff all around, I think, right? So what is the dark night of the soul all about? And this is what I put that it's about. It's all about strengthening your connection with the divine source energy. That's what it's about. So I know you're going to bring in a few different topics there, right? So I'm going to turn it back to you in a second. But we have to understand, this is what we're aiming for. Why are we going through this? Not just so that we can just get the baggage gone out of our past. We want the connection to the divine, because when we are connected to that divine source energy, which is love energy, that's where we're going to be manifesting from. And that's where I think if we raise our consciousness, we're going to blow these little fuckers right out of the water.
We are. And
with the minds.
Yeah. And then, what I was saying before we came on is like, nobody's ever correlated these, or I have yet to hear somebody correlate the dark night of the soul with ego death, because I think basically are exactly the same thing. Because when you're going through the dark night of the soul, it's actually stripping away parts of your ego, your persona, that mask you wear out in the world, or who you think you're supposed to be, and actually finding out
shining as the divine, who you are, the divine in yourself, right? And loving yourself.
Absolutely. So the dark night of the soul is the same as your ego death. So every time you go through an episode of Dark Night of the Soul, you're going through an ego death. And if we're talking about this from a collective and the worldwide, because I think that's what our focus is going to be today, you're looking at collective ego death. I know we've said this a million times, but when you put it into context like this, I think it's pretty cool. We're all going through an ego death. Everything we thought our countries, everything we thought, everything was our education system, our everything, every single thing that was our foundation of life is crumbling. And that's part of our ego, our collective ego, right? We've created this bubble of existence, right? Because we keep creating.
You know what? I'm going to put something out there that I don't follow that 100%. We didn't create this. And it's like the planetary alignment that's changing right now. We didn't create that either. But we are subject to the whims and the way the wind blows with all of these changes that are coming in. So whatever was created, they created these power structures how many thousands of years ago? So yes, maybe we did come back here to incarnate at this time to help be the difference and be the change we want to see. But we don't take responsibility for what other people have created. And that's like all the black magic stuff. Maybe we weren't strong enough to understand what was going on. We have a responsibility in it, but they created it. That's like saying we created all the sex trafficking. We did not create that.
We didn't. Okay, fair enough. But
so let's just split this down a little more. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but we, in ignorance, we allowed it.
We had no choice, because some of us, the power structure is so thick from all the different levels of the hierarchy, from the very top positions to the people who do the basic work. And I'm going to give an example. I used to work with a man. His wife works in pharma. He's all for the vaccines. He's never going to listen to me, who is on par with him in the industry we're in, when his wife works with the pharmaceutical companies. There's no way he's going to believe me. I need my ego to stand back and not engage in a conversation in certain environments where I'm not going to win. So we still need to know when to play the ego, like stay with our ego and know, no, this isn't going to go anywhere. I'm going to play the game of whatever, financial advisor, and then know when and who to speak to about it. Like so it's a bit of it's almost like we talked last time about 2 steps forward and 1 back. So sometimes you got to go through a little bit and then you go back, and you got to be a normie because of the people you're hanging out with that day. You don't have a choice, so it's kind of, but I do like how you're correlating the two between the ego and the dark night of the soul, because basically you're starting to go, as you go into the dark night and you go into the darkness, the ego starts to get further and further away from you.
And why is it so painful? Because your ego doesn't want you to go digging deep. Your ego wants you to stay safe on the surface stuff. And so that's why it's painful to go in. And I think a lot of us who've gone through it, you realize the ego is what's actually creating the pain when you actually start to really figure out what the message is and what you're supposed to find out. It's freeing, not painful, even though it might be painful things. But when you realize that it wasn't you, or if it was abused by something, it's like you didn't create the abuse, somebody else did. You were a victim of it, and you can let
coping strategies,
all the stuff, all the coping stuff, and realizing the beauty of who you are. I mean, how many times have you seen, like, just recently I watched a video where the girl was a trafficking victim. She was in the porn industry, and we would have us like, why would you listen to this person? She was in porn. She did, all of this stuff. And it's like, no, but look at where she found out who she really was. She didn't have a choice.
Is that the blonde Madison?
Yeah.
So Madison, she tells a story, and it's an interesting story. And she went into porn, but she was also sexually abused by her father for a number of years. Yeah. So it all stems back to abuses. So I'm not going to go into this part so much today, but that's what shapes her maybe thinking that this is normal. So she went into porn thinking this is what's supposed to happen to her, because and often you start losing your soul because you just assume that this is just the way the world works. So then you distract yourself, you shut yourself off from who you really are. So she has so much more to be proud of because she's been through so much. So she can be, as she comes back to who she is, her true essence, she has more to be proud of. And I'm not saying it's a competition or anything like that, because she's gone through a harder journey than a lot of people.
Yes. Can you imagine what her dark night of the soul was like, to deal with the shame, the guilt, and all of the stuff that comes with.
But even when she went to the minister to get out, he turned around and trafficked her again. So this is why everything has to fall. The churches are falling. Everything has to fall, these structures, because there's no guarantee there's any honesty in any of the people who are in them. And they all know to hide in there, because the same structure knows how to protect each of them and all the different aspects of government that they work in, or establishments that they work in, right?
Yeah, it's the foundation of the world. And that's why, as we're learning about these things, all right, sorry, we're going to be really still, because otherwise we've got the feedback. As we're learning about these things, it is the dark, because, I mean, how many people knew this 10 years ago? How many people knew that this stuff was going on 5 years ago? How many people knew this was going on a year ago, right? And I remember when I learned it, it was like I couldn't sleep. It was horrendous. And I'll be honest, it was a helpless feeling. Like, how did I not know this? What can I do? change it.
You know, and it's funny, we both have different reactions to it because, as I've said before, I was writing emails and I put on government officials and think tanks and universities and mental health. And as I'm sending this letter out, if you can't figure this out, find somebody who can. And my keyboards are just a clicking, and I know how to escalate the shit out of anybody, right? And as I'm doing this, they're blowing me off. They're not answering. They're not picking up their phones when I'm calling them, things like that. In the third email I sent, I said to myself, just as I hit the send button, you can't be this fucking stupid, because they're all the academics. And as soon as I said that, boom, I knew, oh my God, it's you. And you get together in the think tanks, right, hiding in plain sight, but you're the ones who are keeping the pedophilia alive. And they had David Finkelhor, supposed to be one of the U.S. top experts in child sex abuse. Of course they had him in there because he's one of them. So they keep the illusion going that they can't figure it out, right? But I knew right then, no, this is you. This isn't us. This is you. So I didn't internalize it that it was my fault. I didn't
internalize it was my fault. I internalized that I didn't see it and I wasn't aware of it. I was too oblivious in my own little world.
Okay.
To be paying attention. And so when all of the, especially because I mean, a lot of things I knew, but it was the trafficking and the children and all that I did not know the extent of. And that, like, I'm gonna be honest, it broke me a little bit I couldn't sleep. And it's like, you just feel like I want to run into the streets and, jump into a sewer and see if I can find a kid and save, and you don't know where to turn.
Yes.
That feeling. And that was a bit of, that is kind of like the dark night of the soul. It's like breaking down what you thought was going on and who was doing it. The people you thought were supposed to protect you were the ones who were the perpetrators.
Totally.
That is, and I think that's part of this, like, and right now we're going through something even deeper with this whole pandemic and the jab, and we're going through a dark night of the soul in a different way, I think, right now. And
no, we're seeing somebody else's agenda create the dark night they're not creating the dark night of the soul. They're creating a dark agenda for us where they're trying to hurt us. So we're seeing that aspect of it, right? But I'm going to say this as well. I felt a little bit of guilt before when I first figured all this stuff out. But you know what? We're meant to enjoy life. We're meant to do the things that make us happy. We aren't supposed to be on guard all the time. But it's the people who took advantage in the system that have created this hell for everybody. So when we do get through this in a couple of years' time, we're not going to be sitting here focusing on this as much. We're going to go back to what gives us bliss, what makes us happy. So it's not that people did what was wrong. They were so nefarious. We have no choice now that we trusted people who are untrustworthy to do the right thing. So we're going to set the structure up differently, but we are going to go back to the bliss, in my opinion. I don't know if I'm right or not.
We are, and I know for sure the matrix is breaking. I've seen it.
And that's what all these programs are, distractions for us. Doesn't matter if it's entertainment, sports, whatever it is, they're all distractions for us so that we don't see what they're doing. So this is part of the dark night of the soul, is letting those distractions fall away. And you realize that's just a program. No, that's just a religious program. That's a science program, whatever it is, right? So we're starting to see how we've been entertained with trinkets. They say they gave the First Nations trinkets and wanted their furs and all their stuff. And it's we've been kind of given the same treatment, right?
In different ways. Absolutely. It's funny because you get the distraction and you create your patterns. We've all created our own patterns, right? And that's part of, you wake up, look at, wake up in the morning, your rituals, get your coffee. For me, it's grab my coffee, grab my, computer, grab something to eat, sit down for about an hour because I'm not good in the morning. I need my give me my coffee. Don't talk to me. Just let me do my thing for at least an hour, and then I can be human. And that's my ritual.
I've noticed you've never contacted me first thing in the morning.
And I am not.
Not gonna happen.
I'm grumpy when it's like, oh, I have to be up early to be somewhere, and then I plan to get up extra early because then I can get my hour. But if I don't know and it's a shocker, it throws my whole day off because I've broken my pattern. And that's really what we're doing with the dark night of the soul. We're breaking the patterns of behavior and thinking.
Unconscious behavior.
Behavior and thinking, and taking us out of the slavery of that. So, if I wanted to, and I think that this my morning ritual is not working for me, then I have to change it. And that's not going to be easy because I've been doing it for years, right? And so I think
that's why there's so much resistance to the change, because people don't want to change. They don't want to change in the physical reality. But this is all about picking up our spiritual abilities, right? And when we pick up our spiritual abilities, some of those things that mattered won't matter anymore. So it's almost that you still think of it as you're going through a tunnel and you can see a little bit of light at the very end. Maybe there's times you don't see the light at the end, right? But you trust in yourself anyways, and you keep going through. Yep. But what's the motivation to go through the deep night of the soul? Something either isn't working for you in the past that you've gone through, or you're empty and you want something more. And you know, as you're waking up, there's more to life than what we're, you know what I mean? You get up, you go to school, you get a job, you get a house, you have maybe 1.2 kids, 2.3 dogs, you work till you're 60 or 65 and golf until you die. Like that's basically the program that they're really trying to push on a lot of people, right? Stay as an employee instead of being an entrepreneur and living your dream and going for what you really want. And it's all about too, keeping you from your individual talents and gifts. That's what happens with the dark night of the soul. You start realizing, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah. And what they have done too in the last year is that, you know, the whole 6 feet apart, no socializing, they want us, as we go through this dark night as a collective, they don't want us to find each other that are awake and aware to help each other through this. Because if we come together, we are so powerful.
Totally. And we're powerful even through the internet. Like a lot of people are connecting around the world, and it's okay. It's okay if we connect here for now. And it's like Nicholas, who said when we raise consciousness, it's like, well, I see you in New York tomorrow, or let's meet up in New York tomorrow in another plane. And we've heard Max Spears talk about that in the hotels, that they go into one room in a hotel, go to sleep, and they come out in another room in another hotel. It's all done with a number. So we don't know what all this is yet. So we're not going to jump into that aspect of it. But there's so much more that we can do that we don't know. Right.
No. And I think, I think one of the important things is realize we're in it as a collective. We are going through a collective dark night of the soul. We are. And in that, let's find out who we are as a collective. And you're right, Deb, the end is not for everyone. And we are not all in this, everyone isn't, like the whole planet isn't in this together. But where we go one, we go all, is all of us who are on this path. Because there are people who are choosing not to be part of this collective.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That's their choice. We can't pull them in. You can't coerce them, even if it's the person you love the most in the world. You can't do it. Sorry. Yeah. And it is a tough pill to swallow. I think we've all been there. We've probably all lost a family member, at least one, or your best friend, or, You
mean lost as in we're no longer in a relationship with, not necessarily physically.
Not that they're dead, no. Yeah. We just no longer, we're not resonating at the same frequency anymore, because that's what it comes down to. We're no longer resonating at the same frequency, and we're clashing and not seeing eye to eye anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And so therefore it's easier to separate from them.
Yeah. So a lot of this is about stripping away barriers that yet we...
You froze there, Sandy.
Yeah, what just happened?
You're freezing.
We both just glitched out on mine. So, but that's, we want to know what we're aiming for when we're going through this. So one, we know love is the answer. So put the end game in here first, right? So we know more love is the answer, but it's connecting with the divine source of love for yourself. So you can be that love and emanate that love. So then, because when I went through the dark night of the soul, I didn't realize what I was aiming for. I just knew what was happening around me, and what was in the past didn't resonate with me. So once I realized that I'm not impressed with what was going on, I really didn't know what I was aiming for. And if you can imagine me with like a paper bag over my head, trying to go through the dark night of the soul, I didn't even know any of the spiritual stuff existed. But you do it anyways. You trust yourself, and then you connect with your inner guidance, so that you know that even if you don't know what to do, maybe you need to sit tight and wait, but you trust yourself as you go through. And as you said with the cards, Betty, that a lot of this isn't even, we don't have all the information yet. So we can keep working on ourselves, because we know we're safe to work on ourselves, and within the groups of who we work with, that we work with each other and help each other, right? To all be the best we can be. And then when the time is right and the information comes out, we're at a higher jumping off point. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And also when we go within and we start to trust ourselves and you start really connecting, guess what? All of the knowledge is within us. So even that's hidden, we will see it if we want to, if that's what you're seeking. You don't need them or somebody to tell you. You need to
trust you.
You have to trust you. And I'm going to be honest. I want to kind of like, so we've talked about what's going on, where we're at. And I love with this ET Enterprise went to Canadian boarding school, Prince Andrew College. Prince Andrew used to visit, and he didn't realize that all this pedo stuff was going on around him until just a few years ago. I know.
So here's the thing. So what was he going there to do? Were some of the children mind wiped and put in a special room? Do you know what I mean? Like, we understand now that when you have grown men who won't stand up and do anything to stop people trafficking, but want to be around children all the time and show that they're decent people, like, there's some alarm bells that are never going to be, we're never going to allow that again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we're seeing on so many levels, as we clear ourselves out and make room for more of the divine in ourselves, we're also seeing what we're not going to allow going forward. We're going to see the signs. I have a few, I'm going to say males I know, and they're trying to break into the political world, and they're not really big players by any means, not at all, actually. And they wouldn't stand up to do the right thing. And one of them said, well, who cares about Justin's a pedo? So his friends are pedos. We got more things important, things like money and the economy to work on. And I couldn't block that guy fast enough. Another one wants me to go and help somebody in his community. I go and help that person or do my best to help that person. Then he backs off and goes, well, our people have our own way of dealing with child sex abuse. Go fuck yourself, coward. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of stuff that, oh yeah, we're all upstanding and noble people, except when it comes to doing the right thing. So this is the war of good and evil is about morality and doing the right thing, right?
And isn't the right thing protecting our most vulnerable?
It should be one of the things for sure, right? And this is what the walk and the talk have to match. And that's what we're finding in society. The dark night of the soul is really showing us who is walking the talk and who is not, and what talk doesn't deserve to be walked, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. And you know what? So this is where I think I'd like to switch gears a little bit. Because we are talking, and this all falls into the dark night of the soul. And us.
So why this falls into the dark night of the soul when people are abused? We're not going to go into this today. Like, I know we're not going to, but I just want to say this. What happens? The child can't fathom when they're being abused in a lot of ways. So their soul leaves. It disassociates from the body. So then they can't grow spiritually because they don't even know that over time they forget they even have a soul. They think the physical reality is as good as it gets.
Yep.
And that's not the case, right? So that's why we're tying that in to this conversation, any kind of abuse, because we're going to stop that going forward. So more people don't have to go through the experiences of disassociating and not loving themselves or knowing who they are.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
So that's why.
Yes. Yes. And because we have an amazing audience, Sandy.
Yes, totally.
I mean, I was telling you yesterday, I'm like, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys so much because the comments, the interaction,
information you share with us, all the above, right?
All of it. It's in your point of view, and it is so valuable. You have no idea.
Totally is.
It is so valuable, and I just want you to know I actually really appreciate and love you all. But that being said, we are all very much awake, very much aware, and are at different stages of this collective dark night, and many of us are actually on, like, coming out and really figuring out who we are, where we want to go. And with that power, what you said yesterday at Nicholas is, it's not the number, it's the percentage of how we raise. So even let's say like there's 15, 16, 17 people on here right now. If every single one of us actually focused our energy on breaking this matrix and cracking it open completely, we can do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And one of the things that we talked about yesterday is when we do it. I know a lot of people are sitting back waiting. When's Donald Trump, Dr. T, Mr. T coming back? Okay. How many times has you been told, it's up to you? It doesn't mean you're up to go into the streets and fight or do anything. It's up to you to go inside, find out who you are, and then create that space where we can actually bring, like, our focus is bringing down this matrix. And when we all focus on bringing it down and ripping it open, because it is like a mesh over us. I saw it in
the matrix. It's a net.
The matrix net over us is starting to tear. It's starting to wobble. I saw it in one of my meditations. And the more of us that focus on bringing that thing down, the quicker it comes down. And what happens is when we bring it down, then the alliance, Mr. T, can come in and sweep up the mess. But we have to crack it open. We have to raise our consciousness enough to go, whoosh, gone. And that is,
a big part of this is trusting the divine, the way it's all unfolding as well. So if people want to do that, focus on that side, by all means. Maybe people are at a different stage and they want to do their inner work first, or they're at there's no right or wrong to whatever stage you're at or what you are called to do. And when you're called to do it, the point is that you trust yourself.
Yeah.
So when we talk about pulling the matrix down, what systems are going to be in place to replace it? So there will be some that are there, but we also will be creating some. So it's all going to be happening. It's all going to be happening simultaneously. So we might find the matrix comes down in one area, but not another right away. But that's okay. And then other people will say, hey, look at how they tore that part down. And then other people will join in.
yes.
And then somebody else might be on the building stage. And then, hey, look what they're doing with this curriculum. Look what they're doing with creating more abundance or using their consciousness. So it's all going to work out for sure.
How we're changing the education, how we're changing health, how we're changing the government structure, because we're changing every structure. And you're right, it's not going to be overnight, but we do need to crash and open this matrix up and let the light in. And it is a golden, beautiful light that's coming in through where the holes are. And more of us need to focus on that so we can actually get to the good stuff. And it's not, these guys are coming in when we are ready, not because we want them to. Do you know what? I
think it's going to be both.
We have ownership in how this goes.
Responsibility. And I think it's going to be a bit of both, right? So if divine is love itself, the divine energy, your connection to the divine, if you don't trust that love can hold you, you're going to reject love. So even though you're going to want the good stuff to come in, you're still going to have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brakes. Because if you don't trust that love can hold this frequency that we're aiming for. So what do we do first? Do we go into the love frequency, know that we can hold it, then go in with our consciousness and crash the system? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm just putting out different ideas that it doesn't have to be one way or another. We don't know what this is going to look like. And that's the beauty of it, is that sometimes we don't know what it is, but then we can act on love itself and then be impressed with the miracles that start to unfold around that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And every one of us is going to take it. Sorry. I'm just going to be quiet so we both stop moving. And I don't know why this happens every once in a while. It's got to be perfectly still. I forgot what I was going to say. What did you say?
About love, trusting love that will hold us. Because if we don't trust that love, we are love. And this is where the dark night of the soul ultimately, I think, is going to go. Because if you don't trust that this is going to work, or you're still in a little bit of fear, you're not open to being that energy. And there's going to be that frequency that's going to hold the space for us as the system. And then we can direct our energy lovingly and just say, we've had enough. Goodbye to the old.
Yes. Right? Yes. And that's where I was going. We all come at things. Everybody is individual.
We're uniquely qualified.
Yes, we are. And we're going to all come at it differently for the same end. And no one way is right or wrong, as long as we get, because we do want this better world in the end, right? We do want to be in that space where love is the center, not this demonic bullshit that we live right now. So we want love at the center. Does it mean it's always going to be perfect? No, but at least that's our foundation. Our foundation is solid then, right? And I think on Wednesday we talked about, love is the lowest of the frequencies, where you're actually, it's the lowest of all of the higher frequencies, because then you have joy and you have peace and enlightenment. But with joy, with love, when you actually have that true love, that creates the joy. From the joy creates the peace. And we build on that to actually, we move up.
So love is a stepping stone?
Love is the bottom stepping stone. We make it sound like it is the ultimate, but it actually isn't. It's actually the bottom stepping stone of this. And when you look at the scale, if you have that in front of you, love is the 500 hertz, right? Love is at 500. I know I have a copy of it somewhere here too. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And look what's below it. Reason. Reason is below love. So acceptance, willingness, neutrality, those are the ones below. It's how you're actually building. It's like steps, and we're building up, and we get to love. Love is the basement of, or maybe the main floor. Okay. We hit the main floor, but do we want to continue to build up? And that's the peace and joy, which is ultimately is rooted in love. Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally. And the difference here, though, I'm going to stress that there's nothing wrong with any of these emotions.
No.
The lesser vibratory, if that's where you need to be. And what we sometimes people, they get the impression we're aiming for the higher ones. We're aiming for them, but the idea is that you feel all your emotions, the ones that make you feel good and the ones that make you feel sad. The idea is that you feel. So if we see a tragedy or see something that happens, that we can have the empathy, because we know that that shouldn't be happening to somebody. We can feel, if something has gone wrong, maybe we can feel anger if that's what we need to do to set a boundary. So there's nothing wrong with any of the feelings, especially when you go through the dark night of the soul, because there's going to be times you're going to think you're crazy, and people are going to tell you they think you're crazy. And I remember when I was writing my book, I was out in Vancouver a couple of times, and I kept saying to my coach, like, this is going to sound crazy, but, and finally she looked at me, she goes, you say that a lot. It's like, because I was waking up so fast, it was absolutely insane. Some of the things, the information that was coming in, right? Because I had no idea some of this existed. So it's just kind of interesting knowing that you're going to feel crazy and you keep going anyways. And you find people who are going through this, maybe not the exact same way as you, but that's okay. Betty and I are at different places, although we're similar in frequency where we're at. We have different opinions, and it's okay. Neither one is right or wrong. Like you're going through a process as we're learning. It's perfect.
Yes. Right? And the funny thing is we do bounce things back and forth, and because
that's how we grow.
And that's how we grow. And I think we've both had aha moments with things that the other person has said, or I'm like,
totally.
Wow, I didn't look at, wow. Okay.
That's good.
And that's because we're working to grow. And if you pull that
working together,
pull that up again. I'm going to actually address things. And like I said, these are steps. Where is your basement? Is it at shame? So,
and it doesn't matter where you are right now.
It doesn't matter where you are.
Going up.
And if you're vibrating at love today, tomorrow, guess what? Something might happen and you may pop down to anger or fear. And that's okay. Because as we start to feel what it means to really resonate at love, or really resonate at joy, or one of those, we will feel that drop. And then
you explore why you're there. And then you can actually,
is it yours? Is it yours? Is it somebody else? Is it something I need to work on? Is this an old program that's coming up because I saw or did something?
But that's how you catch yourself, and you start looking at your triggers, and you realize, okay, I'm really angry. I was working with somebody yesterday, and we got on to the Zoom call, and the first words out of his mouth was, I'm really in a bad mood. I'm just pissed right off right now. And he goes, I just can't believe how angry I am. I could just, and he just went on, and just, that was high. And then he went into that, and I'm like, okay, but let's go have a look and see what it is. So you just observe it without, like I didn't recoil and think, oh, I got to worry about this guy being angry. It's like, let's have a look at it, see what caused it. Is it yours? Why are you defaulting to this pattern? And he came right out of it, like within 10 minutes. Sometimes your anger needs to be seen. It's all that it needs, right? Just voice it to somebody, let somebody witness it. And we work through it. It doesn't matter what it is, right? But sometimes we have to look at why are we going back to anger? Oh, because that was my programming in the past. Right. So then you realize that's how you catch yourself in the dark night of the soul. You still go through moments. You don't go through with shame or blame or anything like that. You just go through and say, why am I doing this now? I was recently watching someone, and they were talking about how when we create in the present time. So if they say time doesn't exist, but we are still in the 3D matrix, so it does exist in this reality. But it also, we realize that we're going to be striving where it's not going to be a part of the future. What's happened in the past won't matter. It'll just be something that you've integrated, something that you experienced, right? But what this one person was saying, we manifest in the now. So if you're going through something and you're feeling you're having a negative thought or a negative feeling about something, I am happy now. I am a creator now.
Yeah.
I am joyful now. I love myself now. So you're bringing your timeline right into the present to be in the moment. And that's, I think, also part of the ultimate goal of the dark night of the soul, is to be able to be all, like, bring all your parts back so that you can be whole right now, because that is the time where we're going, the present. The present is the future.
Yeah.
And
it's
amazing we're not crazy.
That seems, and I love this, Noletta, we're all here to grow it. Absolutely. And you know what? So are Sandy and I. We're here growing with you. And that's the beauty of it. It's a give and take. And that's why I like the lives, because guess what? You get to give and take too.
Yes.
Part of what you're saying, and there was another comment from ET Interpress. How do we remedy that part of us that just wants to dish out some old-fashioned frontier justice? I love that. Sorry.
That is, look at your motivation for having that thought. So there's nothing wrong with the thought that you have, but look at your motivation. What do you want to have happen? Are you doing it because you're pissed off and you feel that somebody's taken something from you? Then that would be an indication that maybe it's coming from your ego. And we're not saying it's okay that we've all had things taken from us. It is not okay. But what is justice going to look like? Is it going to look like somebody else gets punished? Or is it justice going to look like we get to step in our power? Or is it going to be both? So really look at what your motivation is and what justice means to you. Justice is a word that is very important to me. I know it's important to Betty, but it doesn't mean we all have the same vision of what justice is. When it comes to people doing some bad things, and there's rumors that they either have been or will be dealt with in a permanent basis, permanent level, that's not what I'm here to do. And it's not that I am going to trust to a certain extent that it's going to be done, but I'm here to help create the new and help us find our way through the process. So I can look at that and say, I'm glad I'm not making that decision. I'm really glad, but I do believe it's going to, I believe it's going to come. But what's it going to look like? Is it going to be that we get to go and do the exact same things to them that they did to everybody else? Then that we have to look at our motivation, because that might be another dark aspect of our personality that needs to be addressed. No judgment on it. Just look at it and ask yourself why.
Yes.
Why?
And I actually like what you said. I actually do want to see justice, but I know it's not going to be by my hand, and I'm happy that I didn't have to make those decisions. But I'm also really thankful that there are people out there with the strength to make those decisions.
Yes. Gratitude.
Absolutely. I am happy that there are people who have the strength to say this must end, and this is how it's going to end. And from that, because we do need to wipe this shit off the planet, because it will, I mean, it is like, it's like a cancer. It just won't stop growing until you cut it out.
Yeah.
Right. And it has metastasized to such a level, the whole entire earth basically was covered in cancerous material, which is them. And they've taken over everything. So we do need to see justice, maybe not frontier justice, but let's be thankful that people are doing it on our behalf. And all they ask, I think what they're asking of us is to raise our vibration, create
step into our power, do what we're here to do, which is use our consciousness to create a beautiful world for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Including us and them.
Create the atmosphere where that is going to be acceptable, where that is where we go, like this beauty, that love center. We have to raise the vibration enough to of this earth. And I said to you yesterday, I was like, Sophia, Mother Earth Sophia is waking up. And was it today? You said, who's waking? Like, is it the earth or is it us? And it's like, is it Sophia waking us up, or are our consciousness rising, waking Sophia up?
Right. And it's consciousness itself that's coming in through all the planetary changes. Is consciousness the one who wants to use the human beings to wake us up? And does it matter if it's any of the above or all of the above? I don't think so. The point is that we're paying attention. right? We're doing our best to raise our vibration. We're doing our best to, we recognize how important love is. We recognize that there's a group of people or an energy out there who does not want this. And when you look at the evil, a lot's going to happen this summer, but we're also going to see more love come to the planet. And we're going to see who knows when to hold that. We're also going to see who knows when to hold back on it and not show. Sometimes people have to decide when you're going to step out on a stage. And I'll give an example. A woman I'm working with this week, she stepped out. Normally she's got a small business, very successful from the sound of it, but she stepped out in the public arena and she's sitting on a board for a women's group, and she's getting attacked like crazy because she's not going along with the clique that is there to abuse the power. So we have to know when and how to protect ourselves when we do this, right? So when people are standing up and we see more of this, and we know how to support each other, we know how to call out the people who are causing the problems. And this is just my opinion, but evil is, when this stuff comes even more to a head, evil's going to show. As the love grows, so's the evil. They're going to show to control. And you know what's going to happen? Evil's going to double down. So we have to know when to show ourselves, when to hold ourselves, how to get our messages out, who to get our messages out to. And it's not about being cowardly. It's about being strategic. And you had that card earlier, right, Betty? So this is what strategy means. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run, know when just to keep your head down, know when to speak up, know when to hit them right between the eyes. What did I learn yesterday? I don't think I told you this one. Okay, this is not meant to anybody here, okay? So don't necessarily, don't take this in. But what I learned this. So basically she kind of goes like this: back at you, girlfriend. When somebody's rude to you. So she sends the energy back at you, right? Like it was a funny move. South American, funny move that this is how they talk, right? Back at you. So that's the same as returning it back to sender. Yeah. But very quick. So there's going to be all kinds of things that we learn from each other. I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. She does it better than I do. I've got to practice. Wow. But it was just hilarious that so she knows, but nobody gave her permission to do that. She thought she had to be nice. It's like, you don't, when we're cleaning the energy, we're clearing the energy, right? And I'm like, it's not okay that they've attacked and psychic attack. Anybody who's worked with me knows I talk like this, right? I'm like, those fucking bitches, man, those bitches gotta go. Well, she's crying and laughing at the same time because she wanted to say it, but felt she couldn't say it. And it's like, get rid of those bitches, gotta go.
Well, isn't that why they don't like us using the 4-letter words and stuff like that? Because they usually have emotion behind them and intention behind it. They're very charged, and they're usually charged against stuff that they're doing. So that's why
it's okay to use it to set it up, right? And then I sent her a prayer for protection against the dark energies, and she's like, oh, thank you. So we can give each other the skills and the tools as we do speak up. Okay, here's how you protect against psychic attack. Here's how you shield your energy. Here's how you protect against dark forces. Here's how you open your heart and feel more love. Here's how you clear your energy systems out. Here's how you release old emotional blocks, right? So we're going to go through it faster, but also at a pace that for each person to decide for themselves that they can handle. So we're going to be kind of like, you know, when you're helping somebody over a fence and you lock your fingers so that they can put their foot in, and you know what I mean? We're going to be doing a bit of that and helping each other over the fence, and, you know, and not one person's going to stand behind and be the hero and let everybody else go ahead of them. That's not how this works at all, right? You do what feels right.
Those days are over. All those pedestal days are over. You know what? We work together to create better, and we help each other to lift each other up. And you know what? And if you're a teacher, the best compliment anything could happen is if your students actually surpass you. That means you did a good job. And, totally. And it should never be an ego thing that, oh, well, I'm the teacher. They shouldn't be more like learn more. Or whatever. Yeah. That's absolutely not. You actually open them up to their fullest potential.
That's the way it should be. But this is the problem with the education system. The teachers are promoted to have the egos. Well, I'm the authority figure. So, and the problem with the children, they might not have the vocabulary. They might come in as star seeds or indigo. So they know certain things, but they can't say it to the teacher because the teacher won't be able to understand, and the child doesn't have the vocabulary. So that creates an imbalance of power, that the teacher is the authority. And it's not that way at all. You know, like we all have a message. We all have information. We all have a piece of the puzzle, right? Right. So Lori's talking about Trump here, showing us the very same thing, right? So I look at Trump. So ultimately, when we go through the dark night of the soul, it's going to be so many things, right? Finding our way back to love, but it's also balancing our masculine and our feminine energy. It's about being our best and highest self, coming from the best place we can be as individuals. I look at Mr. Trump, and what I see him doing is exactly that.
Let's just use his initials, because too many times this won't last.
Really? Okay. Okay, so when we talk about Mr. T, I look at him, and he knows how to set up structures in a way that benefit everybody. Like he would look for the homeless, if the vets, if they needed medical treatment and there's too much of a wait time, they could go to whatever doctor they wanted and submit the invoice. So he was starting to really look after people, reduce the pricing of drugs. He had the gas prices were down, like a lot of things that he had done that I think were very good. He wanted to eliminate income tax. So there's many things. So he knows that's kind of the masculine, setting it up that everybody benefits. Think of somebody looking after a tribe, or a figurehead looking after a tribe. That's him doing it. He would tell everybody, I love you. Like, I want to do this for you. He also has the divine feminine in him because he cares so much and he wants to help everybody. So he's got a balance of the masculine. He knows what policies to put in place that will benefit everybody. And he's got the feminine that he comes from his heart. He wants to protect the children. So June 30th, he's going down to Texas. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, has invited him down to look at the wall. So who knows what's going to come out of that? Doesn't matter. But we have all kinds of examples of leaders that we're seeing right now. People are stepping up, but he might be leading today. But what if he steps down tomorrow? It's not going to matter, because we're all going to be in this change together, that maybe somebody will stand up and be a temporary leader for maybe a year or 2 years in whatever capacity. Maybe it's going to be in the truth movement, the consciousness movement, the enlightenment movement. Doesn't matter where it is. Maybe it's going to be in the health movement, the food movement, like who knows where it is, but then they go out and somebody else comes in. So it's not going to be the people that are hanging on to power. Like you've been in politics you've been part of the Senate for 40 years. Like that stuff is going to go. But it gives everybody a chance to come in and shine their light and make that organization better. I see that's where we are going to demand it go.
Yes. And nobody should be in politics for life, because you need to have real world experience. And that's what Mr. T did. He brought real world solutions to a group of people who have absolutely no idea and have been bought up, heads up their asses, really, because they live in a bubble.
Or they do have an idea and they don't care.
Yes.
It's not their head that have up their ass, it's their heart.
That's true.
We can change anatomy, right? But it's like they don't come from a loving place at all. So, and a lot of these people choose this, and that's what I'm saying. Evil's going to double down, and I have a feeling there'll be people who come to the streets in certain capacity to maybe stop the carnage from happening. So I don't know what it's gonna look like, and I honestly don't care. What is the famous saying? That when he comes back, that it's going to be better than anything yet. I can't remember exactly. The best is yet to come, right? So so I know that they're still leading with us and giving hope. So they're leading us at this point in their capacity. We're leading in our capacity by being able to say, we all know where we're going with this. Everybody here, when I say we, I mean everybody on this thread right now, right? And anybody watching later, you know when it's your time. If you're watching this, you're already in the dark night of the soul, whether you knew the name of it, whether you thought the name of it was my ego's falling away. I realized I was attracted to materialistic things. I'm starting to see my value, whatever it is, right? All of that they're all just variations of the same thing, that we're coming home to who we are.
Yes. So. And as we move up this, and I'd like to think of it as the staircase of vibrations, we bring more power to bringing this matrix down, because that is what they need us to do. We're bringing energetically the matrix down. It is an energy grid. We are energy. Therefore, we can bring it down.
And we're going to.
And we're going to. And like I said, the Alliance is waiting for us to become strong enough energetically. That's the key. They're waiting for us to be strong energetically so we can bring it down. And they're going to clean up the mess and create a space for us to be able to now make our new world.
Yes.
They don't want to do this whole pedestal thing again.
No.
I'm sure Mr. T does not want to be put on the pedestal he's on. He's doing a job that he was put on this planet to do, and he is doing it to the best of his ability. And there is an army behind him, and this is a world army working with him. And they have been there long before he was. He's the lead singer of the band. Okay. He isn't necessarily writing the music, creating the music. He's the one singing the songs.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, so we're talking the band leader. He's the front man.
Yeah. And that's okay. That's a great analogy. Great way to look at that, right? So when we're looking at the dark night of the soul, it's a pathway to empowerment, to truth and love. That's what this whole process is. So part of it is breaking away from the illusion and the delusion of what we've seen before, figuring out what it is we want, coming back into our own power, understanding around us. So I like how you just said that, Betty, because we're sensing, and this is a lot of this, what's coming up is that we're sensing with our all of our senses who is right, not who is right, who is here for the right reasons, who is here for their own reasons, who's got a nefarious agenda, who actually cares about everybody. So we're really starting to see this with the different eyes, but we're feeling it. And that's what coming through our senses and coming through our emotions is where we go into the higher realms of frequency. Like you were saying, you go to love, but you have to feel that. You feel the love, and then you go into the enlightenment, you work your way up. Isn't enlightenment part of what the process we're in now too? So we're going to love, but we also are waking up, which means that that's part of the enlightenment, that we're kind of going into all these frequencies. Maybe instead of looking at, like, we're looking at climbing it up a ladder, but also look at it that you're penetrating through a field. So you're like on the outside of a cell, and you're working your way through. And as you go into further to get into the cell, you're starting to see more of what is in the cell and what it really is about. So there's many ways to look at it and different angles.
Absolutely, because the days you have your aha moments, and it's like, oh, and like
I can imagine you do that too.
I do sometimes. It's like, oh, the sky's open. I just got like a huge bit of information, and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. That is tasting enlightenment at the top of the scale. That does not mean I'm going to be able. I can't hold that vibration all the time, but it comes in snips and snaps.
When it's supposed to.
And I call it a ladder because we go up and down. We go up and down. Maybe it is an escalator or an elevator. Sometimes we go up, sometimes we go down. We may not go all the way down to the bottom, but we're always in some limbo. Well, what we're trying to do, and that's that love one, if we can hold that one for longer, right? That's when we get less fluctuation in the lowers, right? And more fluctuation in the uppers.
And this is what the test is going to be over the next couple of years, that we go back to love. So even when we're talking about the frontier justice, we might think that thought for a minute. We might think it for 10 minutes. We might think it for a day or two. But the idea is that we work our way back to that love frequency, and then it'll get to the point, the more we can go back to that on our own as our natural state, we're going to find we stay in it more, that we're going to be more coherent energetically. Because love is a very coherent energy, where anger, hate, being ticked off or wanting something like justice, it's going to vibrate more erratically. But we still need to go through some of that.
No. I'm sorry, I disagree, because I think justice is a critically important piece of this, because what we've seen over time with.
But I said frontier justice.
Frontier justice.
Well, so basically, we want to go out, gloves off, guns blazing. That's what I'm talking about. We're not going to go there. We're going to be accountable with justice.
Yeah. Justice is actually a critical piece of it, not frontier justice necessarily, but the fact that we do have justice. And like I said before, we both said we're thankful somebody else is taking care of that, because I wouldn't want that on my, I don't know if I could do it. Or
I don't know if I could do it, but it doesn't mean it goes on their conscience. Maybe they're here to do it. So I'm not putting any judgment on them. Yeah,
no. I know that's not my job. My job is not to decide how they leave this earth plane, or if they do. But that is somebody else's job, and I'm thankful to them. But justice is key, because without justice, this is how we got here. Or justice, the corruption of justice.
I'm not saying we're not going to go for justice, and I'm not saying we're not going to be angry, and I'm not saying that we're not going to be upset. What I'm saying is love is a more coherent vibration than those emotions. But we're going to find we go in them, but we don't have to stay there as long, or we go in them. And maybe what if we watch... If it's tribunals, what if we watch them for 3 weeks? We're going to be, our vibration is not going to be in love at that time, but we're still going to want to go back to that vibration as much as we can for the people who we want to share it with while we still watch what's going on. We're not going to love what we're seeing. We're not going to love the people when we find out what they've done, but we are going to hold the frequency of it more and more coherently as we go forward. That's what I see as happening, right?
Yeah, because truth, we're all looking for truth, and truth isn't always pretty.
Exactly. And then it makes us react, which is the vibratory up and down. And that's what we're going to catch ourselves in that and go, okay, I can watch this as the observer, the 0 point energy. I can watch something I don't like, but I don't change my energy up. I try to keep my energy calm as I watch what I don't like, just so that I don't become erratic. Can I say more erratic? Erotic, I don't know. Neurotic.
Right? We're all up and down every day. That's part of the journey.
It's just now, though. It's part of the journey, but that's just for now. As all the chaos starts to fall away, we're going to be able to be coherent, more coherent in the higher frequencies. As it might take 2 years. It doesn't, and there's no right or wrong. We just know that this is part of the journey, is learning how to hold our center while all this is going on around us. Know when to step out and in front of things, know when not to step out in front of things. And the longer we all stay small, if the stronger we're going to be, because more people are getting the message. And as more people are getting the message, they're all getting their own inner strength. And then we all stand up at the same time, right?
Right. And Noletta, what do you mean by you're watching and focusing on the healing those who need justice? Are you like sending healing to these Satanist pedos? But like, I'm thinking, I'm not going to send healing to our asshat here, JT. You know what? Everybody gets to, somebody needs to, I would not send healing to anybody who isn't asking for it.
Yes, that for sure.
I would not send healing to anyone who has not specifically asked for it. And be careful, because you don't want to end up in their energy field. Because when you're sending healing, you actually are tapping in, and they can tap into you.
And they can tap right back into you. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to protect yourself. And these are people who have made choices over and over and over again. And yes, guess what? Justice needs to be served. I don't care what happens to them. And I actually think that when we realize the depth of their depravity, the fact that they are being put to whatever it is that we're going to be doing to them, I don't know that necessarily always lower the vibration of the person watching, because you are seeing the depth of evil incarnate.
It's not going to lower your frequency necessarily, but it's going to shake your energy up, because we're not used to seeing people get the exec position. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have a different term for executive positions, right? But we're going to see that it's still going to rattle us, and it might change the frequency, but it's okay to go into shock. Maybe you're going to go into a shock frequency when you actually hear what's happened. But then you catch yourself and you say, okay, that's not okay. And then you start to soothe yourself and bring yourself back up, right? So the anger. So Deb, you're in the anger phase. There's nothing wrong with anger. Anger gets a bad rap. Anger vibrates higher than fear. Sometimes you need to be in anger because you need to set boundaries. It could be an indication that you need to set a boundary. And we need to set collective boundaries so that this doesn't happen again. But we're taught to be tolerant and not stand up for ourselves and put up with everybody's nonsense. So it's okay to be wherever we are, but you don't want to stay in that, because it's not good for you. You want to turn it into something productive and learn from the anger. What do you need to know? Do I need to know how to set boundaries? Do I need to know how to say no? Do I need to know how to protect myself? Do I need to find my voice? Do I need to speak up? Do I need to start getting back and trusting myself? All the above, none of the above, it doesn't matter. You have to ask you what anger is doing for you right now.
And Deb, I'm going to say that sometimes anger is a wonderful propeller for change. So sometimes it's the fuel behind, it's the fuel behind you to make change when you get really angry. I have found that in my life, that sometimes it was the points where it was frustration and anger propelled me to change what was going on in that moment for me. And so sometimes it's not a bad thing, and you can embrace it and say, what do I need to learn from this anger, and what do I need to change? So ask yourself the right questions. And Deb, I did get just a private message to Deb. Deb, I did get your email, and I tried to email you back, but the email address you typed in was incorrect. If you could send me another one, that would be greatly appreciated, because I can't respond to you.
Elma's brought up a point that she went through some things in childhood, and watching them come to justice might give her some closure to this, right? Because we are all led to believe it's always set up that the abusers are never wrong. It's always blamed on the victims and things like that. And what I really want to stress, a lot of people are under the impression that we're supposed to forgive and forget and forgive the abusers. If they didn't hurt you, it's not yours to forgive. It's not you're overstepping your bounds by saying, oh, we should just forgive everybody who's abused everybody. We all need to take responsibility for our own behaviors, make the changes once we identify they're wrong, make the changes when they're appropriate. But it's not up to us. If somebody came up and told me they were abused, it wouldn't be up to me to say, oh, just forgive them. They probably went through it too. That's not my place. So right on, Elma. I think that's a great point, that we have to let the people who've been hurt decide when they want to forgive. It doesn't mean we don't move on with what we're doing, but we don't get to forgive on your behalf, because that's just narcissism. That would be narcissism on our part.
Absolutely. And we had that conversation before. Forgiveness is, and I think what most people mean is actually releasing yourself from whatever it was that you feel of it, your piece of it, if there was any, because a lot of times, especially with sexually abusive children, they don't have a piece of it. They are zero responsible for what happened. They're
responsible to get their life back. That's all. It's your responsibility to get your life back.
And it's to forgive, it's to release the pain, shame, guilt, blah, 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 the long list of crap that somebody else piled on you.
Totally.
You have to forgive them. You just have to let go of the emotions that they dumped on you. And you do not have to say, I forgive you. It's like, I got a nice little finger salute here. That's to them. It's like that guy, when we talked about forgiveness, that guy who it actually hurt him more to forgive, to do what he thought was the correct forgiveness thing, that, because he's a Christian. It's like, it hurts you again. And I saw the hurt in him, and it's like, because that's not how it works. It's what I want.
And the guy that he said he forgave, the guy who abused him, he didn't give a damn. He was as ugly about it as ever. There's no conscience in there.
And it hurts the kid again, because he just actually created another layer of pain for that guy. And
re-victimize himself.
They don't repent you. Don't do it.
Who's telling them to do it? This is where you have to look at the so-called therapies or the church or whoever. Oh, forgive and forget. That's just so everybody keeps paying their 10% in, and they keep getting, their coffers are getting bigger and bigger, right? So,
I see. Supposedly, I hope so. Amber and hugs. I'm just wondering what Amber said. That gives me goosebumps. I don't think it was that one.
Yeah, or maybe she meant Elma. So we are here for the survivors. We are here for people who want to make a better world. We're here for people who've been through, it doesn't matter, not just sex abuse, any kind of abuse that you've experienced. We want to show you how to get your life back, because that's going to be the ultimate. We're going to collapse the past, but to collapse the past, we have to take the emotional charge out of it and the spiritual charge, the energetic charge out of it, so we can bring ourselves, all of us, into the center of the future. Into the present, and then we can move into the future with our new skills and our new energy level and our new state of consciousness. So anybody who's on the planet now, from the 40s up until, I'm going to say till 2000 from the people I've talked to, but that's only because I haven't really talked to a lot of people born after 2000. Many of you have been through hell and back. So you've got things you've got to clear, but you're worth clearing it so that you can realize, okay, I went through that for whatever reason, maybe so I can be here now to be part of the change. I'm not going to let it define me. It doesn't define me. It's just something that happened. And I've been had a lot of success with people, just letting them realize that this is just something that happened to you. This is how your body responds. It's not your fault. They did it to you. They own this shit. The people who covered up for them own this shit. The people who are going and procuring the children, they own this shit. So a lot of people own it, but it's not the child. And this is the other thing. If it wasn't such a bad thing, they wouldn't do it they wouldn't do it in hiding. They wouldn't do it secretly when nobody was around. They all know what's wrong. I don't give a shit what happened to you. You know what's wrong, or you wouldn't be doing it in secret. So that's just it. And that's part of the awakening. We can tell we don't buy the lies anymore.
No. And we won't buy the shame, the shaming. They're not going to buy anything anymore. Hey, Blue, good to see you.
The shaming is what keeps everybody suppressed in the lower frequency, right? So that's what the design of shame. It's a control game.
Absolutely.
Death registers at 25. So shame, to shame somebody registers even lower than physical death. So that's why that shit has to go. And if anybody tries to shame you, call them out on it, or ask them, are you shaming me? So this is, we're not going to get aggressive. Like, we're having fun with this, right? But we're not going to get aggressive in things that we say necessarily, but we're not taking anybody's shit anymore.
No.
So I posted something on Facebook. It wasn't my meme, but it was something like, You know, we're going to stop making excuses for people and just assuming that they don't get it and that, you know, they're having trouble understanding it. And we're just going to start calling them on their shit. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what the meme was, but it was really good. Somebody else posted this yesterday. I'm just going to read it to give an idea of where we're at. Because the shaming is designed to control and keep you down energetically so they can come in and attack. I'm sorry you had to make me the villain of your story in order to stay in the light and keep the onlookers in the dark. This is where we're at. I'm so sorry, so very sorry for you. I have no desire to clear my name in your book of fiction. Paint me however you need to paint me so your guilt doesn't feel so heavy. I am light as a feather. Isn't that amazing?
Yep. And it's so true because everybody, not everybody, a lot of people, they just push their shit on other people because it lightens their load, but you don't have to accept it because it's their crap. You send it right back.
Send it right back. And this is going to be the energy.
I got enough of my own shit to deal with. Thank you. I don't need yours.
But not even that. I'm not taking yours. Not even I've got enough of my own. For me, I'm not saying what to say. Everybody's got to figure it out. But no, just no.
Yes. No more. No more. And, you know, I was watching Janine, and I do like Janine, fellow Canadian, doing her cards. And but she had this week, she actually talks about how she had like a lucid dream, and it was all her totems. And the message that they had is all of us light workers. Sorry, while you're drinking, we get all this message. And I've been doing it too, so don't worry. Just know that it makes it hard for these guys listening. That they said between now and the 23rd or whatever day was earlier this week, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, it's Friday today, right? Wow. To the 23rd, there is there's a big energetic push, and we have our solstice. We have Jupiter going into retrograde. We got a lot, and Mercury is still in retrograde. We got a lot of retrograde action going on. There's a lot of stuff energetically in our universe happening. And as we are raising our frequency, just like Sandy said earlier, they're coming at you. They're raising their game too. And so this is a really important time for the next week is to protect ourselves. Use all of your protection skills that you have. If you need more, Sandy or I know, we can give you protection prayers. You can put salt around your house, sea salt, things like that. Just whatever you need, like create that bubble, energetic bubble that they can't come at you as we raise our vibration and bring down this matrix because it's going to fall on their heads.
Totally. There's all kinds of things. So what they used to do, I don't know what time frame ago, what they would do is put salt in the windows and over the doorways to keep the dark energies from coming in. So you can use halite. I've got all kinds of halite in each of my windows and just things like that, right, to keep the darkness out. Cast it out. If you think there's something dark around you, if you're not here to serve love and above, get out now. If you don't know how to move it out to another time, like another dimension or where it needs to go, just cast it out. Do not come back. You're not welcome here. Today, I choose love. So you can tell it to get out too, right? And definitely, we've got prayers, we've got stuff that we can we'll share with you guys. Especially if you're going out in the public and you don't know, like, how do you know you're going to be attacked for whether you wear a mask? Somebody had just posted as well that a woman had come up to her and said, "I want to run you over with my car, but you don't wear your mask." And like, just so stupid that could land as a psychic attack if you don't know how to protect yourself.
Yes, and be wary of. How do I say this? Because we were talking about this yesterday. Some of the things that are coming up in the news about again with the mask. You can't say that word. You can't say those two words together.
You can't say those. It's an FF.
Yeah. It's a false woo woo. You know, it flies back and forth. Canada Day is coming. We usually hold one. The guy who shot the cashier who told him to put on a mask. That. As soon as I heard it, I was like,
that's good to know, right?
Because they have been trying to paint the non-mask wearers, the non-vaccinators, the Q people, Trump supporters. We are all dangerous and violent. There's a bunch of news articles been coming out over the last few weeks about how they're worried that we're going to turn violent. And wow. And then in the news this week that somebody did turn violent. I was like,
right.
I called.
Timing is too convenient. So Blue put a comment here that she's under the impression the white hats want silence from us right now, and I'm going to agree with that. So we wait, but we, like I said, we can gain our power, all of us, by being small right now, but we still strengthen ourselves. So when the time comes, and then there is a sign from them that they say speak up or do whatever, that we show ourselves then, or rise up then, or whatever it is we need to do, right? So this is part of the strategy that you're talking, the strategy card, because we're strengthening ourselves. Doesn't mean they need to know anything about us.
No, and that's why I don't really touch on too much geopolitical stuff, because this is a spiritual battle, and we need to build ourselves up spiritually to win this battle.
Totally.
It is about the other stuff. That's all noise. That's noise in the background, because as we do this work and we strengthen ourselves and we focus on bringing this shit down from your house, okay, you can do it from your own home.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what's needed right now. That's what I feel is needed right now. It's us collectively on an energetic level raising our vibrations. It doesn't mean it's going to stay there forever, but let's raise it. Let's focus on bringing down the matrix, and it will come down. And then all that geopolitical stuff will happen regardless. This is our job. This is our job. It is not to be out in the streets fighting. It's not to red pill anybody anymore, because it's too late for that. If you haven't figured it out now, sorry. And it's too frustrating. It's actually lowers your vibration. Yeah. So don't lower your vibration anymore. We're in a place where we need to raise it. We're going to bring this shit down, and then they can come in and be the cavalry and clean up the mess. But we're going to actually,
and then we'll be on to bigger things.
Bring the building down.
Yeah. And then we'll be on to bigger things at that point. So once that starts happening, we're not going to just sit and watch. We'll be going after creating more positive energy and creating the frameworks that we do want to see, like, and whoever we is, right? The collective.
And if I'll just bring in this, like, because I mentioned it to you yesterday, it's like the walls of Jericho. Remember how they didn't have to fight, did they, for the walls to come down? They just marched around. Yes, and that's what we're going to be doing energetically, is we're going to be marching to bring down the matrix. And God does that. The Creator does that when our hearts and our energy is focused on it. So we don't have to be in the same room. We don't have to do a group meditation. We don't have to do anything. We're all just in our own individual spaces creating it. And that is still works in the when two or more are gathered together.
Yes.
We can move mountains. We can do anything. We can break down a matrix.
Right. I know. I agree. So Noella, you put a comment there about your friends of having a pity party. So I'm going to ask you personally, what do you get out of focusing on your friends having the pity party? And it's not anything other than just asking the question. What can you do to change your thought processes right now? That's their choice. If they're not coming through, they're not coming through. You can, if you have to grieve, you go through the grieving process. If you are angry, you have to ask why. If you want to disassociate, what are you going to disassociate to? Do you want to work more on your own dark night of the soul? What can you do to be in the present moment right now? How can you be happy now? How can you create now? And start asking yourself what you want to do to change the energy, because we're going to, as I said before, we're going to catch ourselves going into a negative maybe thought or emotion, pull ourselves back out. We've got the tools, and all of this does is practice for our spiritual muscle and our consciousness muscle. We have a negative thought. Okay, think about it. We have to act on something. We want to report something, or we want to write about something. Go ahead, do it. That when you're done, do it consciously. You go back and say, now I'm going back into neutral, or I'm going back into positive, and I'm going to keep moving forward. Keep your toes pointed in the direction you want to go if you can.
Yeah. And I think this is the, I talked about on Nicholas. I've talked about it many times. This is the calling. So if these friends, I mean, you've made your choices, obviously, right? You are on this path and on this journey, and your friends are not, and it's hard. I think like I said earlier on, we've all lost people we care about deeply, but we're no longer vibrating at the same frequency. And in their presence, it usually brings your vibration down. This is a time we need to keep it high. So maybe they'll wake up, maybe they won't. It's not up to you. It's not up to you anymore. You've made your choices. They've made theirs. They could change their minds, but that's not, again, not up to you. We all have
just a pattern.
Free will. And that's what we have to respect, because that is what's been disrespected for so long.
And it can be just a pattern that you worry about other people because that's the way you're brought up. And it might be a pattern that you need to break and just say, no, I'm assuming they can look after themselves, right? Maybe it's getting 20 after. Should we finish up with some benefits? Let's finish with some benefits of going through the dark night of the soul, because you want to know what are the rewards, right? One of them is you get to know who you authentically are. You get to know the real you without anybody else's expectations on you or their demands on you. So that is one of the fantastic ones. You also get to bring up your innate abilities. You get to bring up all your clairs, your clairsentience, your claircognizant, your clairaudience, your which one am I missing? Voyance. So you get to bring up those innate abilities. You get to get in touch with your senses. You get to feel the environment and the truth of what is really going on. So these are all the rewards that you will gain as you go through the dark night of the soul. Yes, you're going to maybe lose some friends. You're going to find your ego isn't going to accompany you as often. It's not going to go out with you as much as it used to, right? You still need your ego because we're in a 3D reality, and sometimes you do need to go into that. Nothing wrong with our ego as long as we own it and it doesn't own us. So there's a lot of great reasons for going through this, but the best one I think is for me is the truth, to find out who we really are and how powerful we are, and start turning this light switch on, baby. Like, let's get this party started and bring up our abilities, right? That's what I see as the benefits.
All the BS of this world falls away when you start to figure, when you take away the ego, you go through this and you figure out who you really are. And how many times have I said, because we're all freaking amazing. Guess what? You're on this journey. You are amazing. You just have to see it, and you will, those who aren't sure what their life's purpose is, when you go through the dark night of the soul, it starts to show itself, because you're starting to see who you really are and what you really like, and you push yourself into new things. You actually, I like you blossom like a flower.
We shine. Yeah, we shine brighter. And that's what the rest of them are going to do. One of two things. They're going to want to take you down, or they're going to say, I want to be happy like them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter either way. If they want to be happy, then we will help, we'll show them, but they got to do the work. We're not doing it for them. And if they want to hurt us, then we've got the protection and things we need that we're going to start energetically learning some skills on how to protect our energy fields. So
absolutely. And all those friends you lose, you will gain new ones who are actually be there to support you in your light, not try to take it away.
Yes, totally.
And that's the key.
So thank you, everybody. You guys are amazing as well. We're so grateful you guys are here. We can't do this, like, nobody can do this alone, right? We need everybody. So that is fantastic. Yes. We're going to make some great headway in the next little while everything is going on.
Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be a hot summer. They keep saying that, and I believe it. And let's make it hotter. We can make it hotter by raising our vibration and breaking this shit down, because it's up to us on timing. Yes. And it is an energetic thing that we're doing to create the timing. So stop waiting for them. Start working on collectively. We work on this, and we got this.
We do. So Blue, I'm going to send you a message on Skype. We're doing something tomorrow night. Let's talk about the young women, because there's a lot of things that are, they're being targeted, right? The breeders, but the whole society needs a hand. But I'm going to reach out to you on Skype if we can talk maybe tomorrow or later today, and let you in on what's going on, because it's going to be the people who have woken up that are going to help the younger generations. Some of the women need help. Some of the women need to get beat right over the head, because they're the ones who are creating their own demise. They're buying all the bullshit. So how do we help them get through that and start trusting themselves and realize what the world is really about, not the nonsense that they're learning in the universities? And I'm not saying that to be negative about the young people.
I'm going to just say, we'll send Blue an email, because it's just going off topic and we need to wrap it up. Sorry, Sandy, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think, Blue will just, I actually would even pop her on if you wanted.
No. That's fine.
But on topic, let's raise our vibration. Absolutely. We've got the young women. We also have young men who are so confused. These young people are so confused.
So this is all part of going through the dark night of the soul. They're going to need to know there's something better on the other side. So it's okay that she's just talking about the women, but you're right. It's everybody who's ready. Anybody who's ready, man, woman, and child, right?
And those women and those men who were the perpetrators or collaborators or continued this, if they don't see the light, guess what? There's justice for them too. There is no gray area. I love this. That guy, Sam, he says there's no such thing as gray hair. There's only white hair and dark hair. And the reason it looks gray is because they're too blended together. So it's actually the light and the dark blended that makes gray. But really, it's individualized strands of white hair and dark hair. Right now we're separating that gray into black and white because there really is a black and white.
Yin and yang.
Yep.
There you go. Okay. Right. Thank you, everybody. Love you. Thank you for being here.